You ever hear of the old man who walks the cliffs at midnight carrying a lantern that never goes out? No? Well, that's probably for the best. But if you're here to listen, you'd better stay till the end. Because once you know about the lantern keeper, you're part of the story now. They say he was once a simple lighthouse keeper, a man named Elias Crow, back when these cliffs weren't just barren rock, but the last hope for ships fighting against the merciless sea. Every night, he climbed the winding stairs of that lighthouse, rain or shine, making sure the beacon burned bright, guiding sailors home. But one night, the light went out. No one knows why. Some say a storm hit so suddenly that Elias barely had time to react. Others whisper that he fell asleep, lulled by the sound of the waves, only to wake too late. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. A ship filled with passengers, merchants, families, and sailors crashed against the jagged rocks below. Dozens of souls, screaming for mercy, were swallowed by the sea. The next morning, when Elias climbed down to see what had happened, he found the shore littered with bodies, faces frozen in terror, arms reaching for a rescue that never came. And then he saw her, a woman in a torn white dress, half buried in the sand, her lifeless eyes staring straight at him. In her stiff, frozen fingers, she clutched something, a lantern. But this was no ordinary lantern. The glass was black as obsidian, the metal twisted into strange, jagged shapes. And yet, when Elias touched it, it flickered to life. That was the moment everything changed. They say the lantern didn't just glow, it whispered. It spoke to him. At first he thought it was guilt, his own mind playing tricks. But the voice was real. It told him the truth, that he had been chosen, not as punishment, no, as penance. From that night on, Elias was bound to the lantern. He could no longer step into the light of day. His body twisted, his face became gaunt, his skin stretched tight over his bones, and worst of all, he never aged. The villagers saw him roaming the cliffs at night, the eerie glow of his lantern casting long, unnatural shadows. Some said they could hear whispers when he passed by. Others never got the chance to say anything at all. For you see, the lantern didn't just guide the lost, it collected them. Every so often on stormy nights, a traveler would pass through town asking about a shortcut along the cliffs. And those who took it, they were never seen again. No one knows where they went, only that by morning the waves below crashed a little harder, as if the sea itself had grown hungrier. Years passed, then decades, and still the lantern keeper roamed. They tried to stop him, tried to destroy the lantern, burn down what remained of the lighthouse, but nothing worked. And soon, people stopped trying. The village emptied, the cliffs were abandoned, and yet Elias remained. Even now, if you walk the cliffs on a moonless night, you might see a flicker into distance, a dim, pulsing glow like a fire just barely burning. And if you're foolish enough to follow it, you might hear something, a voice calling your name, whispering secrets you never told a soul. But whatever you do, don't answer, don't follow, and for God's sake, if you see the lantern keeper, never look into his eyes. Because if you do, well, you'll find out soon enough why no one ever escapes the cliffs once they see that cursed light.